Hello, fellow parents and educators. Thank you for joining me at Education Evolution, where we are disrupting the status quo in today's learning models. We talk about present-day education, what's broken, who's fixing it, and how. I'm Dr. Maureen O'Shaughnessy, your host and founder of Education Evolution and the Microschool Coalition, where we are fiercely committed to changing the narrative, to reimagining the education landscape and creating learning that serves all children and prepares them to thrive. Hello, listeners. Today, I can't wait to share the exciting dive my microschool LEADPrep is taking into interdisciplinary studies. Talk about experiential learning on steroids. Think about what you learned as a child that really stuck. Most likely it had a strong feeling or experience attached to it. For me, I remember 7th grade social studies. I can remember sitting in a full lotus yoga position for half an hour during a film so that I could move from one level in the Hindu caste system to the next. My cramped legs were a small price to pay. And the whole idea of caste systems and meritocracy has stuck with me all these years later, and it's become a foundation, as all long-term learning is, to other themes as I continue to learn. Then, as a 20-year-old student teacher, I had the amazing fortune to work with a master mentor teacher, Vicki Swartz, who had studied at Bank Street College, which is Columbia University's graduate school for teachers. And interdisciplinary studies came into my world. We took those 5th graders and we took the theme of medieval living, and that was all. From there, the kids sat down and they pondered, what did they know about castles and knights? What did they want to know? And we created this huge mind map of all the things, all the questions they had, all the things they wanted to know. And from there, the unit of study was developed and kids were doing math, social studies, English, researching, scientifically trying to figure out what sorts of things should be in a moat if they really wanted it to be a deterrent. It was fascinating, and I was sold. There was no begging those kids to learn. They were on fire, and they were owning their learning. And all of the subjects came together wonderfully. So let's look at the what, why, and how of interdisciplinary experiential learning, which I think is the epitome of authentic, real-world, learner-driven learning. And it's what I aspire to have more of for everybody. What is it? OpenLearn explains, this type of study allows the student to learn by making connections between ideas and concepts across different disciplinary boundaries. Students learning in this way are then able to apply the knowledge gained in one discipline to another as a way to deepen the learning experience. And OpenLearn goes on to talk about constructivist paradigm, and that's a theory about how people learn. This theory suggests that people create their own understanding and knowledge of the world through experiences and reflection on those experiences. And isn't that true? We all create our own understanding and our knowledge of the world, and it is formed by our experiences. So why wouldn't we want to fill the schools with this sort of interdisciplinary constructivist model so that kids are creating deep learning that they'll carry forever? This is the opposite of what my 15-year-old daughter, Gianna, called her high school experience. She called it academic bulimia. Mom, it is just binge and purge on stuff in a textbook. Put me in college. At least I'll get some college credit out of the deal. So she was disgusted at how disengaged the learning was. Wouldn't it be nice if the learning were engaging and were owned by our learners? I hopped online and looked at Bank Street again, and an example that they had was an elementary lesson, and it was an interdisciplinary curriculum unit for elementary, third through fifth grade students in New York. And the students there are studying and then developing their own models of multi-purpose skyscrapers, utilizing sustainable technologies to reduce environmental impact. You can bet I've loaded the show notes with interdisciplinary resources. Be sure to check them out. They are so exciting. So that's the what. Why would teachers want to go to the hard work to create experiential interdisciplinary learning? Well, we know that kids feel disengaged. We know they're saying, why should I ever bother to learn this? When will I ever use this in the real world? The disconnect is real. And when it's a textbook and reading and listening, it's so passive. There's no chance for that experience, that deeper feeling, that thing that creates the memory and the learning and the foundation. So we know that the hard work is where the learning happens. We know they need to be engaged and they need to have voice and choice, that student agency. Think about it. When kids are invested, the learning sticks and can be built on. We know that real world experiential learning sticks. Take driver's ed, for example. We don't just have kids read about how to drive safely. We want them out there with hours and hours of practicing. And then we want to test them on that and on their mastery of that. We don't settle for textbook learning when it's something important. And shouldn't all learning be important? And then think about cooking with your child. Math. We're going to have to double this recipe. We have a large group coming. How would we double a half? How would we double 2/3? Nutrition. Hey, we could use this, or we could use this ingredient, and this is organic, and this is fresh. Here's why we're choosing to use this ingredient. Skills. Okay, remember when we cut, we want to do it this way. And remember, here's how we hold the knife. We're teaching our kids experientially, and it is interdisciplinary. In the real world, it's not like, oh, we're just going to learn fractions today. Oh, we're just going to learn culinary skills tomorrow. No, it's all blended together. And that's the beauty, and that's when it sticks. So let's talk about the how. As a school leader and trainer, I love getting to help schools take learning deeper. LEADPrep challenges itself yearly to create a more engaging and learner-centered culture. And so here's what we're working on now. LEADPrep is taking off the training wheels and pedaling its bike into the world of interdisciplinary learning for the 2021 school year. It's taken a lot of preparation. First of all, the biggest obstacle in middle and high school interdisciplinary learning is teacher collaboration. So we always work on being a team. We work on it in our professional development days and in what we share and in our reflections. We work on it by being co-teachers when we're not the lead teacher. So we are a team, and working together is easy for us. The other thing that gets really tricky is schedules. It takes throwing out some of that rigid, a block of this, a block of this, a block of this. And how your school might deal with that is very different probably than how we dealt with that. Some of the things we did to prepare, we've been doing project-based learning. We've been doing writing across the curriculum. So the writing in science and some of the science topics are written about in English. We have a lot of conversations about learning and our learners. We are committed to actively promoting student agency. How can we add more student voice and choice here and still make sure that they're mastering the competencies? That's an ongoing conversation for us. We have our Community Fridays where we're out serving and learning in our place, in our community. We use design thinking, and we prefer Giuliani's launch model. So already we're in the creative process with our students, and we know that some things work, some things don't, and that it'll take multiple iterations, that we want to have an audience. So already our school is used to collaborating and creating and trying new things. And this year, our big step forward as a school was creating our MTSS, our multi-tiered system of support, so that we know which students have which sort of learning profiles, and we have the extra supports available for these learning profiles. So we've done a lot of foundational work. It's not like we're just out of the blue saying, let's try interdisciplinary. But we're ready. What will our days look like? We already have an A day and a B day model. So we have a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then on Fridays we're out in the community. So now our A day will be humanities and our B day will be sciences. Math is still going to be self-paced with quarterly projects. And we're looking at how we might play a little. It doesn't have to be everything forced to fit into one theme. So for example, instead of STEAM and Spanish being separate, we're going to have our STEAM classes in Spanish as a Spanish immersion class. So we're blending those two together. And instead of our physics and high school STEM being separate, we're going to have a physics-infused STEM class. Blending these allows us an extra middle school and high school space, and so we are going to, across the board, be doing environmental care. We also have room then for a middle school literacy class within our related science themes. So right away, our sciences are getting mixed and muddled together in a cool way that starts to make connections and gets rid of the isolated blocks of separate learning. And then the kids' brains don't have to go 3 or 4 different subjects during the day. Our humanities, we are blending English, social studies, and leadership. We're asking ourselves some really tough questions like, what if our interdisciplinary shift intentionally wove in leadership in the form of our students changing behaviors and leading by example? If in addition to the studies, what if our students became change agents and activists? This would take us becoming aware of social justice issues and the systems that cause them. And then with our students creating new behaviors to become more active. How might we do things like replicate the experience of homelessness or hunger? Instead of just talking about privilege, how can we help our students experience the lack of privilege and make habit changes to become a part of the solution? Whether this is food waste, recycling, sustainability, homelessness, water waste, how can we design our essential questions and learning activities to do more than study these issues? We are so excited, and we know it's not going to be easy. All of this is kind of a wonky blending of classes, right? But that's the beauty of innovating. We get to take what we have as a school and go from there. Maybe you have a dynamic theater program and want to add social justice. I can see many possibilities for engaging interdisciplinary learning. Call me and we can explore some ideas. And you never want to go it alone when you know you have resources out there. We aren't reinventing the wheel. We're working with 2 experienced educators. Andy Smallman, the founder of the Puget Sound Community School, has decades of experience with interdisciplinary studies, and he knows the Puget Sound area, so he's one of our consultants. And Amanda Kern-Chambers of the Teton Science Schools and Place Network. As we plan over the summer, we are thrilled to be heading in a direction that few secondary schools endeavor, to blend full days of humanities and to integrate various science and STEM content, while also making sure our middle school students have technical literacy skills that are rarely taught in a year-long course or with content related to a student's other classes. This is a big undertaking for us, and we're using the design thinking we ask our students to use. And some parts are going to work better than others, and that's okay. So what about that magic wand that we end our Education Evolution podcast with? If I had a magic wand, I would make it so that learning were not in 6 or 7 isolated chunks for our tweens and teens. I would make it so that content had meaning for our kids, that all students had a voice and choice in their learning and experienced the real-world connections and impact of their projects. Wouldn't it be great for all learners 30 years later to remember and build on interdisciplinary lessons they learned in 7th grade? I will be sure to update you as we journey down this interdisciplinary path. I know how challenging it is to make changes inside your own school or community. I've spent years working with schools around the world on creating learner-centered programs, and it always struck me how much schools were able to get done with the right tools and guidance. If you're ready to make changes like this in your own school, let's talk and put together an action plan. Visit educationevolution.org/consult for a free 15-minute call, and let's see if we're a good fit for more work together. Education Evolution listeners, you are the ones to ensure we create classrooms where each student is seen, heard, valued, and thriving. We need you. Let's go out and reach every student today. Leaving a rating and review for this podcast lets others know that you find it of value and gets it in the earbuds of more educational leaders like you. Thank you for listening. Signing off, I am Maureen O'Shaughnessy, your partner in boldly reimagining education.